So I work with many people who are learning how to open up, to control and to develop their psychic senses. For some, it's a journey that they've been on for many, many years. And for others, they're starting their journey and they're ready to step into living a more intuitive life. One of the things that I see people struggling with the most, and I get asked about the most, is how to protect energy. So this video is dedicated to everyone who is affected by the energy of others. The fact that you're watching this video tells me that you're likely to be experiencing the symptoms of energy depletion and manipulation. It's also likely that it's no accident that you find yourself here watching this video at this time in your life. Call it synchronicity, the universe, divine intervention, or whatever. You are meant to be here, so sit back and enjoy the ride, my friends. So this video is going to be helpful for those of you who are empaths. However, you don't have to be an empath to benefit from the techniques that I'm going to share with you. If you're not sure if you're an empath or not, here are some of the features of being an empath. See if you recognize any. So you struggle in places where large amounts of people gather. So examples of that would be grocery stores, malls, sports games, concerts, etc. Maybe you find yourself suddenly weepy, angry, frustrated and anxious for no apparent reason. Or maybe certain people make you feel exhausted just by being in their very presence. You might feel other people's pain in your own body and find it hard to distinguish what's your pain and what's somebody else's. If you find any or all of these things sound familiar, it's likely that you're an empath. Now, don't worry, because many people have this ability and it can serve us well. I have a video specific for empaths you might be interested in that will be helpful for you, and I'll link it below. As I mentioned before, psychic protection is the one thing that I get consistently asked for advice about. So it's clear that many of us struggle with this and are looking for easy yet effective answers. So this video is a compilation of a number of simple, easy to apply techniques. I've learned to use these over many years of struggling myself in what I know is the life of an empath. It really is a survival guide that should keep you and help you to manage your own energy and step out in confidence, even in the places that give you the heebie-jeebies the most. So I believe that having this ability is natural. I think it's an inbuilt survival and warning system. It's not an aberration that you find yourself at the mercy of unwanted energies around you. We are vibrational beings after all. So here are some truths about psychic protection that I have come to understand. So psychic protection is something that everybody should do, no matter if they're an empath or not. It's a continued practice, not a one-time event, and this means that it's something that you do every day in order to successfully navigate the world. Those people who are opening up spiritually increase their sensitivity to energy and need to establish good psychic protection routines. And this also includes those that are engaging in energy healing. Sometimes it's hard to differentiate between what's yours and what somebody else's pain is, or their emotions. I have to keep asking myself, is that mine, or is that somebody else's pain or sadness? And if I'm not sure, I acknowledge it and ask that it be taken away. If it's not mine, then the feeling or the emotion usually goes away. Now, not every process works for everybody all of the time, so we have to find the techniques that work for us. It really is individual, but the only way to find out is to try them and find your sweet spot. Psychic protection is nothing sinister. It's a response to a natural process of us being influenced by the energy that surrounds us. We are vibrational beings living in a vibrational universe. And all I mean by psychic protection is the creation of a healthy energetic boundary. With that said, there are times when we do need to protect ourselves from something negative, whether that's from psychic attack or a negative spirit. The instances of this happening are small, but it is possible, so we will be including practices to deal with those also. So firstly, let's talk about our aura. I'm sure you've heard of the term aura, and for some of you, you'll already be taking steps to clear and to strengthen it. If you're not sure what it is and how to do those things, here's a little overview. So we have an amazing electromagnetic field of energy that surrounds us, and it's called the aura. This energy field is a reflection of our mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual self. It's like an electronic signature of ourselves. What we do or we think affects our aura, so it's ever shifting and changing. It's also affected by the energies of the environment and the people that we interact with. According to Donna Eden, author of the book Energy Medicine, the aura has several functions. So it protects us from the physical, emotional, and psychic energies of the environment by screening harmful energies out. It also connects us to the nourishing energies in our environment, so the good things that we want to bring into our body. And it brings these energies to the chakras and other energy centers, which in turn further process them. Our auric field sends signals into our environment that communicates information about us and that attracts specific types of energy to us. And finally, our aura holds a set of interrelated fields that are the blueprints for our physical body, our emotions, our awareness, our relationships, and our development. To find out more about Donna Eden and her work, visit her website, which I will link in the description below. She's amazing. So our aura is in constant communication with us. It reaches out, it scans our environment for information, and it brings that data back to us to interpret and make sense of. At the same time, it transmits information out from us. So it's a conduit between ourselves and our environment. Our aura is also our force field and our protective shell, shielding us from anything that can harm us. It's our natural defense, and it's incredibly important to our well-being. Your ability to protect yourself from psychic infiltration, manipulation, or attack really does hinge on how strong your auric field is, and thus deserves time and attention being spent on it. The great news is that you can make it stronger and fortify it so that it becomes the powerful shield that you need to navigate the swirl of emotions and energies that you come across. So do you often feel drained? In my experience, feeling drained is a pretty normal thing for an empath to feel. However, even if you don't identify with the word empath, you can still have your energy depleted. It's all about your aura. It's healthy and strong enough to keep out the unwanted stuff. Lots of times it's an inside job. And what I mean by that is it's our own thoughts and emotions that affect our energy. So when we're having negative thoughts or feeling down, how much energy do you have? I know that I don't have as much energy as I usually do when I'm in a funk. The good news is that we can change that. We can apply techniques to help us to think more positively and to feel happier. Happiness really is a choice. Now, okay, I can hear the groans from here, but it really is. So even if we don't want to face up to that fact, it is a reality. Now, I'm not naive, and I'm not going to suggest that a think yourself happy strategy will help in all circumstances. There are many situations outside of our immediate control that will have a huge impact on our happiness. Nor am I a mental health professional, so I cannot say how choosing happiness will impact someone who has mental health challenges, depression, things like that. So my best advice for you, if you're struggling with this, is to find a qualified therapist or support to help you. That said, if you're in the habit of negative thinking and feeling, there are strategies that can help break you out of the cycle. According to research, the key to feeling happy is to utilize 2 basic strategies on a daily basis. So firstly, consciously engaging in activities and thinking that boosts our mood. And secondly, disengaging or avoiding activities and mindsets that bring us down. So what we have to do is more of the things that make us happy and less of the things that don't. I don't know about you, but it's easier said than done. As this video isn't a survival guide to being happy, I'm not going to delve too deep into the psychology of that or at all. But the parts that are important for this video is to remember that negative thoughts and emotions do have an impact on the health of your aura. So when we're feeling down, sad, frustrated, or unhappy, our aura feels it and it isn't as strong. When we're happy, it's buoyant and it's healthy. So paying attention to what we think and feel is an important part of psychic protection. This means that we need to be observant about how we are feeling, and we need to take action to change it if we don't like it. I found that diversion is a wonderful way to do this. And what I mean by that is when I notice that I'm in a negative emotional state, then I try and do something that gives me joy. This could be listening to music that makes me happy or it uplifts me. It could be watching something funny on TV, talking to a friend or family member I love, looking at photos of people I love, taking the dog out if I had one, or snuggling it. Whatever it is, just small things that will give you joy will help you to turn your attention away from negative emotions and put you into a better feeling place. So have a go, and you should start to find it makes a huge difference for you. The next thing that I want to talk about is something I call human soup, because the truth is that why we feel drained may not be anything to do with how you're feeling or thinking. You could be the happiest person in the world and wham, you start to feel overwhelmed, particularly in places that have large concentrations of people or intense energy. As I mentioned earlier, there are some of us who struggle in these types of circumstances and environments. We usually get labelled as introverted or boring or even antisocial. But what it boils down to is this: we take on the thoughts, emotions, and physical conditions of the people around us. Without protection, we are at the mercy of the highs and lows of others' experiences, their emotional and their physical pain, their wants, their needs, and their aspirations. Going into a place that has a lot of people can be overwhelming, and for some, it can be so extreme it debilitates their life. It took me decades to work out what was going on for me. You see, I grew up with a mum who valued a more extroverted way of being in her children. Spending quiet time reading in my room was not really encouraged, and I was often told to go outside and play with my friends and to socialise with others. I wasn't a shy child by any means, but I did enjoy my own company, and I found being with others exhausting. It was only in later life that I learned what was really driving that. It turned out to be a combination of personality preference, which is oriented to introversion on the Myers-Briggs type indicator, and an ability to be in tune with others and take on the thoughts and emotions of other people. Because of this, I found it much easier to be away from the situations where I would be exposed and at the mercy of this. I closed myself off and I found ways to deal with what was going on for me. I'm sure that many of you that are watching this video can relate to my story. But the good news is that I've learned to navigate the human soup like a pro. I still find some places hard to be in, and no matter how well I protect myself, these external influences bleed in from time to time. Nobody's perfect. However, I feel like I do a pretty good job of it, and I'm delighted to share with you the techniques I use. So stay tuned, as I will be sharing these techniques for cleansing and clearing and protecting my energy, which is the key to psychic protection. Have you heard of the term energy vampires? It might sound like something out of a horror movie, but there are some people who seek out the energy of others and steal it. For the most part, these people don't know that they're even doing it. But on rare occasions, a person does and has some nefarious reason for doing it. But I wouldn't class them as energy vampires necessarily. In my opinion, these people are practiced in the art of psychic attack and need to be dealt with accordingly. We'll explore this later on in the video, but for now, we'll be concentrating on the unconscious feeders. It's hard to spot an energy vampire. They look like you and they look like me. The only way to determine if someone is one is how you feel following an interaction with them. If you're left feeling exhausted, upset, or even unwell, then the chances are you've just been somebody's happy meal. Empaths draw these people like moths to a flame. I used to think that I had a sign over my head inviting people to share their misery and misfortune with me. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be compassionate, but I do draw the line at being somebody's dinner. I bet that you felt like that, and you'll know people who make you feel exhausted when you're with them. So energy vampires use your energy to make themselves feel better. They need to draw from you in order to function, and the results can not only impact you in the short term, but also in the long term. If we don't protect our energy, then we'll either never have enough for ourselves, and what's left will be full of the negative psychic dump of stuff from others. And over time, this can cause physical issues. One thing that happens to me when I don't protect my energy is that I feel nauseous, and in extreme cases, need to visit the bathroom pretty darn quickly. It's my body's way of evacuating the negative energy that I've just taken on board. It's quite clever, but not very pleasant, and I would rather avoid experiencing that, if at all. Not all energy vampires are miserable or unhappy. There is such a thing as the high energy psychic vampire. Now, they're not negative, but they need to dip into your energy to maintain their own high level of energy. They need you to keep up their high octane way of being. Don't be fooled. Protect what's yours. Another thing that does affect us are more to do with the environmental factors. So I do want to include these factors for completeness, as they may be at the heart of what you're experiencing. And without speaking to these, you will be left wondering, what these are. So I split them up into two buckets. So there's man-made and there's naturally occurring. So let's look at man-made. So electrical currents, Wi-Fi, electromagnetic field energy that has an impact on all of us to some degree. And for some, it can be debilitating and cause symptoms like headaches, nausea, vertigo, to name just a few. We're actually under attack from these man-made unseen forces 24/7, and we really don't know the consequences. Now, I'm not trying to be alarmist, but I do want to impress upon you that there is a growing body of research out there that points to these electrical impulses being harmful to health in the long term. And don't take my word for it. Do some research and make up your own minds. If you think that you have high EMF levels in your home or place of work, you can buy a relatively inexpensive meter to check it out. You should be able to buy it at an electrical outlet or on the web. And with one of these devices, you can measure the levels and determine what your next step should be, or eliminate that as a cause of your issues. So this includes considering turning your Wi-Fi off at night, or maybe even purchasing specially designed equipment to help you. Then there's natural energy. So the earth itself produces natural levels of EMF, radiation, and energy. In some places, the energy can have a negative impact on your health and well-being. So to check out if this is an issue that for you, you can call in an earth energy dowser or geomancer. And they'll be able to ascertain through dowsing where the hot spots are and make recommendations in how to deal with them. And I know a lovely dowser who can help you remotely as well as in person if you want to connect. So drop me a line using my email, which I'll have in the description box below, and I will connect you to her. Another natural environmental factor is solar flares, earthquakes and moon cycles. To the very sensitive person, these will have an effect on your physical, mental and emotional well-being. If you're not sure if you are affected by these naturally occurring things, I would recommend keeping a journal of how you're feeling and match it to solar flare data, known earthquakes, moon cycles and all of those things. And by doing this, you'll start to see the patterns and be able to determine if you are indeed being affected by this. Now let's talk about psychic attack. So psychic attack, I wasn't sure whether this was something that I wanted to include. I truly believe that what you think about, you bring about. So I've met people who hold a belief that they're under psychic attack and they blame this on all of the bad things that are happening in their life without taking any personal responsibility for this. So I didn't want to put an idea in your head about the things that go wrong in your life being the result of psychic attack. However, nor do I want to be silent on the matter, as it is real and it does happen, but it's less common than you might think. Psychic attack is simply negative energy that somebody sends with the conscious intention of inflicting harm upon you, your life, your family. It's usually the result of jealousy or someone's retribution or retaliation for some perceived slight. In the simplest form, it's somebody holding an intention of ill will towards you. And in its most serious form, it's a planned and sustained attack on your well-being by someone who knows what they're doing. Psychic attack can also be the result of spirit either attaching themselves to you or having an unhealthy focus towards you. I want to assure you that 99.999% of the time, these spirits are not evil or bad spirits, usually sad, mad or angry. Only a tiny number I would class as bad or evil. In my 20 plus years of working with spirits and people who are being impacted by them, I would say that only a handful would I class in this way. In cases of psychic attack, fear is your worst enemy, and you need to find a way to deal with this. You are more powerful than you might believe, and you have the tools to combat what's happening for you. This video will give you a whole host of techniques that are proven effective against psychic attack. If you believe that you are under psychic attack and you've tried to resolve things for yourself, you may wish to reach out to somebody suitably qualified and experienced. There are people out there who say they can help but simply don't have the experience to. So please be careful in your choice of who you bring in. Check them out thoroughly. Ask about their experience, their training. Seek feedback from clients that they've had and be clear about how they will work with you, and be cautious if they want large sums of money for their service. Final piece of advice, pay attention to your intuition. If you feel any reservations, don't proceed. This is the part of the video where I give you some of my top tips. Remember, these are things that I use, so I know they work. Aura cleansing and clearing. So selenite is a great aura cleanser. If you have a piece of selenite within your auric field, it will take out any stuck or stale energy that's stopping it functioning. Over time, this negative energy can build up in our aura, reducing its capacity. So an aura clean is a great idea, and selenite is an easy and low-cost way to do it. You can also seek out an energy worker to help you to clear your aura, and I would recommend Reiki, crystals or sound healing. Why? Because these are 3 of the energy modalities I practice and teach, and I know that they're effective. Of course, there are many other modalities that you might wish to consider as well. Cutting cords is another good thing to do regularly. Now, cords are etheric attachments to your aura that connect you with a person, object, or situation. They create a sense of stress and strain in your very being. So if you're feeling drained or obligated in a certain situation or relationship, you probably have cords attached to your aura. Some cords are even past life ones which you've still not cleared and will be still having an impact in this lifetime. To cut the cords attached to you, I believe you must do it with a loving intention. You're not cutting cords to harm, you are restoring your auric field to wholeness and stopping any unwanted energy flow to and from the person, place, or situation. You can imagine the cords being cut by you or another person. And this is often done in a visualization meditation. And sometimes people will call upon Archangel Michael to help them cut the cords with his sword. For me, I like to use a few crystals that are great for this. So flint, kyanite, and obsidian. Each of these stones can be used to cut away cord attachments by simply combing them through your auric field wherever you feel guided to. And whilst I'm doing this, I hold my intention to the peaceful removal, love, and wholeness for both myself and the person, place, or situation that I'm connected to. It's a process that you will probably need to repeat regularly because they do attach themselves. Now let's look at dried herbs because they're great ways of clearing your aura. Sage is probably the most well known and popular, but you can also use lavender, nettle, and rosemary. They're my favorites. This process is known as smudging, and it's effective. So to smudge your aura, you'll want to burn the chosen dried herb or herbs so they produce a smoke, and it's the smoke that removes the stale or stuck energies from our auric field. Simply pass the smoke through your aura, holding the intention of clearing away unwanted debris. Using salt will also clear your auric field. I'll bathe in a bath that I've added Himalayan salt to. Himalayan salt is the pink salt. The salt removes unwanted psychic debris from my auric field. Alternatively, you can bathe in the ocean. Now, I'm a chicken and I don't like the cold, so that's not an option for me. But I do have a dear friend who does this regularly and swears by it. So thank you, Matilda, for sharing your wisdom, and I honour it. Whichever way you choose, fully submerge. It's important that you dunk all of you into the water. Now, carrying a clear quartz crystal is also a great way to strengthen your aura. Quartz is a natural amplifier and a focuser of energy, and just having it within your auric field can strengthen it no end. When I teach, I sometimes show my students the difference a clear quartz crystal can make to their auric field by dousing it before they hold a piece and then after a while they're holding it. And the difference in size and reach of the aura with the crystal is astonishing. Another great technique you can use to strengthen your aura is to chant Ohm. This is a great clearing and strengthening chant. You can Ohm for 10-20 minutes and you'll notice the difference for sure. Being in nature is another wonderful way to strengthen your aura. We miss the natural connection to the earth when we're away from it. We really do need to take regular opportunities to stand barefoot on the earth, to hug or sit by a tree, meditate by water, or just turn our face to the sun. These will all have wonderful benefits to the strength of our auric field. And you might want to check out my video on talking to trees for more information on this. Again, I'll link it in the description below. Drinking water is also a great natural aura strengthener. Our body needs water to be healthy, and this expands out into our auric field. For added strengthening power, why not add a quartz crystal into the water or energize it into the sun in a blue glass bottle? This blue solar water is amazing and so beneficial to us. If you're attuned to Reiki, you can have a wonderful energy right at your fingertips to use to strengthen your aura. So I'll often sit with my palms upwards, resting on my thighs, and channel Reiki into my auric field. And if you're Reiki level 2 or above trained, you can also use some of the symbols to add to the process. Another aura strengthening technique is Ho'oponopono. I first came across this reading Joe Vitale's book on the subject called Zero Limits. It was about the time that the bestseller The Secret came out, and he was part of the movie, which is how I found him. Now I have to admit that I'm not a big fan of his brashness or his focus on wealth, but it was intriguing enough to buy the book, and I read it. I thoroughly enjoyed it after I got past the personality of Joe, and I started to use the 4 statements of Ho'oponopono that's contained within the book. And I use them as a strategy to help me snap out of negative thinking or an emotional state that I wasn't happy with. I've since gone on to do some more in-depth training in the process, and it is one of my go-to processes, which has literally changed my reality. The 4 statements are: I love you, please forgive me, thank you, and I'm sorry. There's more to the process than these 4 statements, and there are some great resources out there on the web about it. But for the purposes of this video and the topic of breaking negative thought and emotional patterns and aura strengthening, it will absolutely change your reality, and those 4 statements are all you need to know about it. I really can't stress enough how much of a breakthroughs that I've had from using this process and repeating the 4 statements when I catch myself in a negative Nelly mood or a tailspin about something happening in my life. It really does work, folks. The trick to using this is to be present enough to notice the negative thinking or emotional state that you're experiencing and choose to do something about it. And all you have to do is to repeat those statements over and over in whatever order you want until you feel better, and it really is that easy. So repeat after me: I love you, please forgive me, I'm sorry, and thank you. So let's talk about aura protection and how we create a strong energetic boundary between ourselves and the environment. It's helpful for environmental, for spiritual, and for people influencers. It keeps out the unwanted. Now, it's probably a good time to introduce the notion of fear. So fear is an emotional response induced by a perceived threat, which causes a change in our brain and organ function, as well as in behavior. It's natural, and it can be really helpful, a really helpful emotion to have. That said, it is counterproductive and can weaken our aura, making it near impossible to protect it. For an empath, fear is probably an emotion that you're very familiar with. From my own experiences, I would often feel overwhelmed by a sense of dread or fear. I know now that I was largely picking it up from other people and spirit communication, but at the time it made me anxious and upset. And the frustrating thing about fear is that it's a vicious cycle. The more afraid you are, the more afraid you become. Consequently, breaking that cycle is the key. And it was only when I was developing as a medium that I learned about aura strengthening and protection, and now it's a daily practice for me. Now, visualization is a practice that should be done daily as a form of psychic protection, and for some circumstances can be reinforced in the moment. Now, people have different approaches to this. For me, I visualize a bubble. It looks like a soap bubble and it completely encases me. At the start of me doing this practice, I used to have to sit for a couple of minutes to, really kind of visualize and build the bubble. But now all I need to say is bubble up and I know it's there. Some people prefer to use different visuals like a shield or a white light, and that's fine. A friend of mine who's a Celtic shaman uses a cloak and he wraps it entirely around himself. I remember one day working with him on a clearing case, and he surrounded himself with this cloak, and he all but disappeared from my view, so very effective. Whatever visuals you use, intention is important. Setting what you want to achieve from the process or the barrier is critical to its success. So for me, my bubble deflects anything negative from entering the space. However, it does allow positive, loving energy through, either to or from me. Now let's talk about crystals, because there are some amazing crystals that are powerful protectors. My personal favourites: amethyst, smoky quartz, black tourmaline and obsidian for psychic protection, and shungite for protecting me from environmental energies. And you might want to check out my video on my top 10 protection crystals, and you guessed it, I will link it below. For some, carrying an amulet with them will help with their psychic protection. And an amulet is something that you believe holds powers of protection, so technically a crystal is an amulet. Now the word roughly translates from the Latin word amulatum, meaning an object that protects a person from trouble. Now I would class an amulet as something like an image or a symbol or an object that you carry with you. And examples would be the Hamza or the evil eye, great symbols. Whatever symbol or object you feel aligned with, carry it with you. It's a powerful reminder that you are protected. Now, invoking angels and archangels is also a wonderful source of protection, and they are there to assist us whenever we ask. And contrary to popular belief, angels are not part of any one religion or belief system, so you don't have to be religious at all to work with their beautiful energy. Archangel Michael is a great angel to invoke for protection, and all you need to do is to ask. So whenever you're feeling afraid, ask Michael to stand with you. As a clairvoyant medium, there have been many times that I've been afraid at night time in my bedroom, and to cope I would ask an angel to stand at each corner of my bed and stand watch. It's given me much comfort over the years, particularly when I was developing my mediumship early on. Along that theme of spirit guides, again, early on in my medium career, I was introduced to my first guide, and he called himself my gatekeeper, and his role is to help me with spirit communication. He literally has my back. When I feel him, he stands with his back to mine, and he towers above my head. I feel so very protective when I need it, and you too can call on your guides to help you. You don't need to know your guide's name, you don't need to see them, just trust that you have them, and they are there, and they're there to help. And I will be doing a whole video on spirit guides in the next few weeks, so do watch out for that one. Essential oils also have wonderful properties that can be used for protecting yourself. Rosemary, basil, frankincense, juniper, lavender, they're great oils to use. You can create an aura spray to use, or simply anoint yourself with the oil. However, please be aware that essential oils can be toxic to animals if diffused, or people, and never ingest them. And also don't apply an essential oil directly onto the skin without the use of a carrier oil. Check out any advisory notes on a particular essential oil before use, or better still, seek out a qualified certified aromatherapist. They've been trained in the safe use of oils, and they are expert. The final thing that I want to talk about when it comes to aura protection and clearing is intention. It really is the key, as what we think about, we bring about. I'm a firm believer that if we think things are out to get us, then they will be. And if we think things are devils and demons, we'll find them. Holding a high vibration is such an important part of psychic protection, and love has the highest vibration of all. So come from love, hold love in your heart, and you will find it serves you well. Now let's talk about warding, because warding is protection that is location based. So it's not about personal protection, but it is about creating a force field anchored to a physical place. You can ward a room, a house, a whole property even. And here are some simple warding processes that I use. Before you ward, you'll want to cleanse the space because you don't want to create a force field around it until you know that it's clear and clean. You can ward using salt or herbs by sprinkling them around the physical location and holding the intention. I like to use Himalayan salt because it does release negative energies instead of holding them to the earth. You can also ward with crystals. Black tourmaline is a wonderful crystal to ward your property or a room or whatever. I have them buried the four corners of my property, and I've connected them with visualized white light to activate the force field. Like personal protection, intention is the key, and I use a sense that negative energy can't permeate through the barrier. Now, I use a wand to activate the force field, but this isn't necessary. You can just visualize it. And if you don't want to, or you can't bury the crystals, you can put them in the corners of the room or house inside. Amethyst or obsidian is also good for this, or a combination of the two, or even the three of them. Now let's look at the psychic bubble for your home. This method, you'll want to sit quietly in visualization, and the intention is to create a bubble of energy from your heart center that expands out into your space and beyond until it totally surrounds the location. Again, set the intention you want, and you'll find it really effective. You'll need to revisualize this regularly, and this technique is particularly useful if you want to protect your bedroom while you're sleeping. Often this is a time that we feel vulnerable and open to spirit communication, and warding the space will really help. So my hope and intention with this video is to impart some tools and techniques that I know work so that you're empowered to help yourself. I know these work because I use many of these techniques still to this day, and I've never looked back. Remember that the biggest power you have is love and compassion. Come from love and it will serve you well. So thank you for watching and supporting my channel. My desire with this work is to help you to live a more intuitive life. Do consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell so that you're notified when I upload a new video. And please do comment below so that I know what you're thinking and what you're reacting to the content with. So bye for now and have a fantastic day.